Hi, how you doing, and welcome back to another video on the channel. What we have for you today is our weekly video where we talk about the 3 most transferred in FPL players this game week and the 3 most transferred out FPL players this game week, and we talk about what we would do if we owned them or if we wanted them, whether that be on a free transfer or a wild card. So if it does help you out and you're new to the channel, please do subscribe, like the video. Honestly, it is really appreciated. We're a small channel trying to grow, and I really don't take it for granted. So thank you all those people who've supported the channel so far. Hopefully we can keep it going throughout the season. Let's take a look at player number 1. So the first player we're going to talk about today is Bryan Mbeumo, and I was quite surprised to see him as the most transferred in FPL player this game week because he's been on this list for what seems like a couple of months now, and I'm amazed that anyone's still getting him in who would seriously want him. I feel like if you really wanted him in your team, you probably would have got him a few weeks ago because it's not been a secret that he's been a really good FPL option. Obviously, scoring 2 goals in game week 9 does tip a few people over the edge, but I'm a little bit concerned that his window for scoring loads of points is running out. So I think it's not too late to own him, and maybe at the price, yeah, he probably is a lot better than a lot of the other options you could be getting in your team. But after game week 13, those fixtures do turn a bit, and I'm not too sure he'll be the best option moving forward from there. I think if you still didn't own him in your team, I'd maybe take a serious look at Johan Visser as a potential striker option. He's about 6 million, so you'd be saving close to 2 million on the 2 players. And for me, I think you could also invest that money elsewhere that you might be saving. They're kind of like for like, and Mbeumo has penalties, but I'm not too sure how many penalties a team like Brentford would get across a whole season anyway. So I would just be wary if you're getting him in. If you want to get him in and you're aware that it's for 4 game weeks, by all means do it. But I think if I didn't own him to this point, I'd maybe be tempted to not own him for the foreseeable future and maybe find another way into the Brentford attack. So the next player on this list is Chris Wood, and he's got 2 goals in game week 9, and that is why he's been brought in by about 250,000 managers. He's actually someone I owned at the start of the season, and I sold him. I stuck with my game plan after when he scored 3 goals. I was like, that's it, he scores in bunches, I'm going to take him out. And he's kept scoring. 5 in his last 5 is great, but I'm still concerned about how many he'll get across a full season. I know he's got a great sample size at the moment. I think in the last 12 months he's up there with the most clinical strikers in the whole league. But a bit like Mbeumo, I don't quite see him maintaining that with the fixtures that he's got coming up. Arsenal, Man City, you don't know how Man United are going to look, Aston Villa, even, Spurs and Newcastle in there. It's not super easy. So I think for someone who's been scoring quite a lot on not a lot of chances, when those chances dry up, it's not like he's a volume producer. He relies on scoring, a goal a game on a couple of shots. So I would just bear that in mind and maybe look for a striker who, is possibly going to score you the next 5 goals in the next 5 games. It's really easy to look at someone like Chris Wood and say, he's just scored 2 goals in the last game week, I'm going to get him in. That's a really easy thing to do, but those points aren't guaranteed, to keep going in the next game week. And sure, there's some sort of form reliance on there that he's in good form and he'll keep that going. Like that's still there. But I think if you wanted to get ahead of the curve and beat other FPL managers in your mini league, you've got to look for the next player who's going to score those goals who maybe hasn't done already. And I know people are maybe looking at Calvert-Lewin, Jamie Vardy, we talked about Johan Visser. I think they're all still good options. But if you did have an extra 500,000 and you didn't know what to do with it and you wanted to get in Chris Wood rather than one of those players, I think that's also fine. And who am I to say, he might also just keep on scoring goals and, that's a possibility as well. So the third player on our most bought in list is Ryan Ait-Nouri from Wolves, and quite surprised to see a Wolves defender on here given that they've kept no clean sheet so far this season. But Ait-Nouri's also got 3 goals and 2 assists, and imagine if Wolves had kept a clean sheet in that time span, he would be looking at some massive returns. So I totally understand why people are getting him in. Combined with those fixtures that he's got coming up as well, it looks really good. If he can get those attacking returns against tougher opposition, surely he'll be able to get similar returns, you'd hope, against weaker opposition. One of the problems we do have is that Wolves in the last game, Gary O'Neill said he didn't quite like playing with a back 3. and he's more likely to move back to a back four in future game weeks. When they play with a back three, Aït-Nouri plays left mid. As a back four, he's going to play left back. So those attacking returns are going to be reduced slightly. And it's not like he's got clean sheets to back it up by. It's not like he's keeping a clean sheet every so often and those goals and assists are bonus points. Those goals and assists are his only points. So I would just bear that in mind. I also am cautious about making changes for 4.5, 4.6 million defenders because I think their ceiling is maybe quite limited. They're playing for inconsistent teams, and like we say, who aren't going to get clean sheets. And maybe those free transfers should be used to, swap your premium players around to really maximise those big hitters and the fixture swings that are up there. But I do really understand why people are getting him in, and he does offer high upside. I think if you're looking at the players around that price point, I think he's a fantastic option. If you're on a wild card, go check out our wildcard video from earlier in the week. But if you're on a wild card, I would definitely get him in. I think he's a great option, but I would just be aware that he's not going to score and assist every single game week. So the first player on our most sold list is Gabriel from Arsenal, and it is funny how these things work because it's kind of similar with Chris Wood now. Gabriel a few weeks ago, everyone was sort of saying, oh, he's a must-have. He's going to score every game week. He's Arsenal the best defence. You've got to get him in. And he rose up in price so much, and now he's being on the most sold list. He's the most sold player this game week. I think a large reason for that is because it's quite easy to go from Gabriel to Aït-Nouri, as a single transfer and save the money and maybe reinvest that elsewhere. So I do understand that as an option, but I think, Arsenal haven't gone away as being a great team for the league, and they are going to keep more clean sheets. The fixtures are getting a little easier, and they've been conceding goals when they've been down to 10 men or they've had a few injuries. Those suspensions and injuries are going to start getting cleared up in the next couple of game weeks, and then you're looking at a really nice run of fixtures from a defensive point of view moving forward. So I do understand why people would be selling him, but I would just hold on to him if I owned him, because I think if I've not sold him by now, I'd lose the value that I've got in him, and I'm probably going to want him back in the next few game weeks. All it's going to take is a goal to sort of, change people's perspectives completely. And for me, I think he's a good option. If I didn't own him right now, I probably wouldn't buy him. I'd wait until game week 12, game week 13, and then get him in. But I think he still remains a good option. So the second player on this list and the most sold is Oli Watkins. And I was really surprised when I saw this because he's got 7 attacking returns in his last 7 games. And at the start of the season, when he hadn't returned in his first 2 and people are questioning him, that's when I got him in. And the reason for that was because the fixtures were quite good moving forward. And we say, good fixtures creates good form, and then good form makes bad fixtures easy. And now he's got some tougher fixtures, but he's in form. And he was really unlucky in game week 9 not to get a couple of assists. And all it takes is for one of those assists to happen, maybe even both, and nobody's thinking of selling Oli Watkins. I do understand that if it's quite attractive to sell him to someone like a Chris Wood, and then maybe people are looking to upgrade a midfielder to Mo Salah, and then keep both Haaland and Salah, and then Oli Watkins is kind of the fall guy for where you're finding the value from. So I do understand it from that point of view, but I actually don't think his fixtures are that bad. You've got Spurs and Liverpool, but Spurs defence, when was the last time that stopped anyone from scoring? And Liverpool away, yeah, that's tough. But then Palace at home, Chelsea away, Brentford, Southampton at home. I think they're quite good fixtures. Nottingham Forest away could be tough, and Man City have only kept 2 clean sheets in 9 games. So I don't really see too many games, maybe 1 or 2, where I would worry about owning Watkins. So I think if you're going to sell him to reinvest elsewhere and get more Salah, I think that's absolutely fine. But for me, I own him in my team, and I haven't thought about selling him one bit, and he's staying for this game week and for the foreseeable future. So the final player on this list is Luis Diaz, and he's been sold by about 140,000 managers so far this game week. And for me, I do understand it, because what's happening is what we expected, where at the start of the season he was starting games, and now he's not starting as many games. And I do believe he's Liverpool's first choice moving forward on the left wing, but it's no surprise that he's a minutes risk. and he's got even less time now he's coming off the bench, to get those attacking returns he was getting at the start of the season. So maybe people are selling Luis Diaz to a Brian Mbeumo, maybe you're downgrading even further, or maybe he's one of those players that, people are selling Watkins to Wood and then they're upgrading Luis Diaz to Mo Salah. I think if you can do that, that's a great combination of transfers, but for me, I would just bear in mind that he is someone who can still score, and Liverpool's games don't look the most difficult. So now, if you've kept him whilst he's been coming off the bench, you could quite easily sell him, and then he starts again, and he starts for the foreseeable future. So I would just, go in with an open mind of the possibility that that could happen. And if you're okay with him starting, and maybe you lose a few points here and there, then yes, sell him. But if you're a sort of manager who's gonna, regret selling him if that happens, then I'd hold on to him. So yeah, that's the 3 most transferred in and the 3 most transferred out players this game week. Please do subscribe, like the video if it's helped you out, made you think of some different players or some different options. Go check out the 2 videos that we've got so far, my Game Week 10 preview and my wildcard video, where we had a 97% rated draft with both Salah and Haaland in, and we talked quite in depth about the sort of filler options that you can get around those 2 players to really round out your team and have a consistent squad moving forward. So thank you very much for listening. Good luck in Game Week 10, and I will see you in the next one.